Hey, what's going on, guys? In this video, we're going to assemble and do a review on the Harbor Freight 20-ton shop press. We're going to get this large box cut open here. Try to make the job a little bit faster for us. This small box right here, it's one of three when you purchase it, where everything's separated. That on the top, there's the bottle jack. Cool. And then this assembly is going to be the frame assembly here. So what we're going to do is get it all out of the box. Alright guys, we're going to get all this out of the boxes now that we got them open, and we'll start putting it together. Alright guys, we're going to start putting it together here. We got the bolts for the legs. There's 4 of them, and we're going to install them. And they're 3/4 bolts. Grab my impact here. Alright guys, we're going to install these legs onto the press. Let's lift it up here. Whoop. Gotta get to the bolt hole there. There we go. Put this one underneath this one. Alright guys, we're putting the bolts here in the press on the legs. Like I said, they're the bolt size, they're 3/4 bolts, and they're 1.5 inches long. Alright guys, you got these 3/4 bolts. There's 4 of them on the legs, 2 on each leg. We're going to tighten them down real quick. Alright guys, we're going to put the jack, it's where your jack and your plate's set on the actual shop press itself. You put these studs through the frame jig assembly. Alright, those go through there. Then you take the entire press assembly and you lift it up. And it sits on them studs on the shop press. And you can lower it or adjust it depending on what you're pressing. If it needs to be, if it's something real big like an A-arm assembly or something like that, you can lower it down if you need to. Alright guys, then you take your press plates that come with it. You set them there for, let's see, it's got different cutouts in it for if you got to turn it for pressing out a bearing or whatever the situation you're pressing, whether it's a bearing or a sleeve or on a cylinder sleeve, something like that. And those are your press plates. They go with the press. They just set right there just in place like that. Alright guys, now we're putting the top plate that actually presses down. Here. Some people call them J-hooks, some people call them eye bolts. They sit down there just like that. And here, all we're going to do is get them started in this housing. Alright guys, now we're going to take and put the bolts through the top of the press that hold the springs onto the actual press itself. And those are a 9/16 bolt, and they're a 2-inch bolt. I'm sorry, 1.5 inches. They're 1.5 inches long and they're a 9/16. So these bolts are where your springs connect for the press on the bottom for your press plate. A little loud, we got to tighten them up. Alright guys, now we got the springs that we're going to install into the bolts we just put on there. And they connect up in the hand. Oh, don't tell me. Yep. Alright guys, the springs have to be installed through the bolt before you put the bolts on, because you cannot put the springs onto the bolts up into the press frame itself. They won't fit. And then, actually, I'm going to flip this spring around. Whoops. So these bolts right here holding these springs on, they're a 9/16, and they're 1.5 inches. Now we just tighten them down.
Okay.
Alright guys, now in order to put the pump in the press, go ahead and connect one of the J-bolts onto the spring housing, just like so, so you can slip the pump up in there, like so. sideways. Fit. Alright guys, there you go. Now we got the bottom pump assembly into the housing. Now we just got to tighten up the J-bolts. And that's what we're going to do now with the socket. Alright guys, now we're tightening up the I-bolts or J-bolts. You want to tighten them down to where it's got tension on the springs, and also the top of your bottle jack housing is flush inside the press frame assembly, where it can't wiggle. You got any walling it side to side. Also guys, as you can see, I'm using a level. You want to make sure that it's level. The whole plate assembly. Because you definitely don't want this thing teeter-tottering and not be level. Because when you go to press a bearing in or out or whatever you're using the press for, it'll be at an angle, and ultimately you can get it jammed up or screw up the housing or cylinder or whatever you're trying to use the press for. Alright guys, now we got the pump handle right here. The pump handle, it's a double rod assembly. We got it together, it just locks in with a locking pin for your jack handle assembly to sit here and tighten your pump or loosen the pump. And then it just goes into the housing of the pump there for pumping. And there you go. Alright guys, and as you can see, we're pumping the bottle jack. And you can see, and that's all you do for the handle assembly. So you can pump the jack to press bearings or sleeves, whatever you're doing for this press, whatever you're using it for. And there you go. Hopefully I found this video useful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, please do so. Any more videos y'all like to see, leave comments down below. Y'all have a great day.